Yo, it's X, and welcome to What's Out Media. Corey, how you doing today, brother?
Doing and hope you're doing well as well.
Doing great. Today we got a special guest, Tommy G McGee. Tommy 123. How you doing today, Tommy G?
I'm good, man. Life is beautiful.
Word. So Tommy, please let us know, where are you from? Where are you located?
I'm from Crystal Lake, Illinois. But I live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I've lived here the last 6, 7, actually 8 years now. So I've been here a while.
Nice. Tommy G, you can check him out. You can also check out his merch. His merch is amazing. Big Dog's Gotta Eat. He got ski masks. He's got shirts. He's got caps. He's got a lot of shit, man. He's got a great stuff, man.
I love the ski mask, man. I know that there might be a day where the police want to contact me and be like, there's been a lot of bank heists with Big Dogs Gotta Eat face masks, but I have a First Amendment right. So just as Nike wouldn't get investigated, I won't either. So we'll see how that goes.
Yes, sir. So Tommy makes amazing documentaries. We're going to talk to him just about his growth as a creator, and just him as a person and how he's grown as a person as well. So Tommy, let's kick it back to Illinois. What type of kid were you?
I was a goofball, dude. I was always an athlete. So I was always playing sports, always kind of trying to make the class laugh and getting into a little bit of trouble, but nothing serious. Like, I wasn't a bad kid. I just probably was either bored or rambunctious a lot of the time in school.
Would you say the class clown or just goofy?
I would say I tried to be
That's what I was
like a lot of times I would hold that title, I would say.
Word. And what type of area did you grow up in? How would you describe the area that you grew up in?
Yeah, I grew up in a relatively new suburb that was probably the most white bread place you could imagine, like Applebee's America, and
Yeah.
I mean, it was nice. Like, there was definitely there was pockets of there was a gated community nearby that was the super rich kids lived there. And then there's a lot of middle class folks, and then there might have been a little bit of I don't want to say trailer, but there was a little pocket of town too. Maybe that was Lake in the Hills, not my town, Crystal Lake, but it was a very nice childhood. Like, the things I see every day in Milwaukee, I didn't even know existed. You know what I mean? Like, I never had to worry walking down the street. I never was like, oh man, that car's been sitting there too long. It was a very easy childhood because I got to, my parents were very encouraging and supportive, and I just got to run free a lot, like go to the pond and catch snapping turtles, or go play football. It was just very, very nice childhood.
Great to hear. So what would be your sport of choice? Were you like a guy who went to different sports, tried different sports out, or did you know right on, I'm this sport?
I loved baseball, football, and wrestling. But then when wrestling, as I got older and I wrestled more and more, I just knew that this is what I was good at. Just the sport where not necessarily your physical gifts stood out, but how hard you worked. And I feel like I'm definitely an athlete, but I am a grinder too. And so that was a sport, when you put the two together, you really can become successful. And I'm never going to be a pro football player. Maybe I would have played special teams or something, but a guy my size, I guess I could have bulked up, but I wasn't fast enough, but wrestling, if you are a grinder and you can just put the pace on people and just physically beat the shit out of them, you're going to be okay.
And the conditioning is crazy for wrestling. So when did you start wrestling?
When I was 10 years old, third grade, a kid had the biggest biceps on the Little League baseball team. And we're like, Reese, what do you do, man? And he's like, I'm a wrestler. So we went to a kids club, the Crystal Lake Wizards, which is one of the biggest and best clubs in the country for kids. It's I think there was 200 kids in that club, and which is a lot. I've coached wrestling clubs where you only have, 12 people showing up. So very fortunate. And then so many D1 athletes came out of that program. So it was from a young age exposed to a good level of kids in competition.
Without a doubt. Iron sharpens iron. I feel like wrestling is really common in the Midwest. Would you agree to that?
Yeah, man. I feel like a lot of it is because of our winter conditions. There's no other sport you really can enjoy that unless it's an indoor sport. And I think the Midwest grind mentality is you show up, you farm, you head to the factory, you do whatever job it is, and you do it till it's done. And that's kind of the wrestling mentality.
So did you find that grinding mentality through wrestling, or is that something you always had?
I mean, I think it's something I always liked working hard. Like I was a kid that loved practice and I didn't even like competing that much for a lot of my childhood just because I got too nervous, but I love practice. I would look forward to going to practice and grinding it out. And wrestling is probably the single greatest influence in my life. And it's what has empowered me to do a lot of the things that I do. So from, when I wrestled all the way through college and I got my first sales job, they put me in the territory that nobody wanted because they were terrified. They put me in the hoodiest of the hood. And I felt like, okay, like I'm going to just be myself. I'm going to smile. And if it's one-on-one, I think I feel okay. And that just gave me the confidence to walk around. And then it's like, you're heading to underground tunnels in Las Vegas and you're going to sketchy ass places all over the country. And
I was just showing my grandma that one. I was like, yeah, I was like, oh my goodness, you talked to the dude who was making the knives and the axes. I'm like, yo, what in the world?
yeah. So I
So
think
you're saying that wrestling also like translates to now your public documentaries and pranks, right?
definitely, and it's not like I'm like it's impossible to beat my ass, but I feel like it's gonna take a special person that's on the streets to do that. And most of the people I think that could beat my ass are in a fight gym and they would never beat my ass because you just don't fight out of the gym.
Right. What type of student would you say you were?
I tried, but like math and science always was a little difficult for me. Like, when you get into trigonometry and calculus, it just I could try and bully myself into trying to figure it out, but it just was like, what the hell is this? So I
I feel
wasn't
that.
gonna be an engineer or a scientist or anything like that.
Um, where did you go to college?
I went to Whitewater, Wisconsin, which is a D3 school that's known for really high level of sports, like national champions in football, basketball, wheelchair basketball, gymnastics.
Okay.
My first 3 years there as a team, and for wrestling, we were ranked. I think we took second, third, and then fourth in the nation my first 3 years there. So
Wow.
we were about to make a dynasty, and then this is going to be probably a story for another time, but a scandal broke where basically a recruit was visiting the school and the coach got a call in the middle of the night from a manager's mom and said, hey, Griffin was raped by the recruit. And so he did the right thing. He took the recruit into the police station, got him tested. It turned out the kid was completely innocent, but the administration wanted the coach to put things under the rug and not take responsibility for it. So they blackballed him, they fired him, and then things changed a little bit at Whitewater. But it was so crazy to watch someone do the right thing and make the tough call, because it's not easy to say like, hey, this may have happened under kind of my leadership. I'm going to take responsibility for it. And to watch him get shoved under the rug was um, infuriating. I hated the administration, and I think they all like died of uncomfortable causes too, which I don't wish that upon anyone, but I feel like karma caught up to them.
I feel you on that one. That's dark, but I definitely feel you on that one.
Sorry
My
for going. Yeah.
no, you all good. You all good. My question to you is, how was that transition? So after seeing someone of leadership in like, did you look up to him? Was he like a mentor to you, to coach to you, like do the right thing and then get penalized for it? How did you feel personally, and how did your team feel?
Just a lot of anger and a lot of fuck you to the administration, because they would bring us in. And now that I'm older and I've seen, like, I've been part of big companies and I've seen how like HR department type folks operate, like the lady that called us in for the meeting and she doesn't address any of our questions and she talks around the issues. Like, I just can't take like a lot of those HR department type people or organizations in a company, because they just look someone in the eye and tell them the truth. How about that? I'll
Right.
respect you if you do that. But like when you beat around the bush and you did something wrong, it's like, okay, what was her name? Amy something or other. Amy. Okay. Anyways.
Question, what advice would you give to someone looking for a school? What if they're a wrestler? What if they feel like, after hearing just how you were as a student, I feel like I'm in Tommy G's spot? What advice would you give them?
I would say one is, if you feel like something outside of college is calling to you, that's entirely reasonable. I think the narrative is gone that you need to go to college to be successful. But if you do go, I would say culture is important. And so like I went on some college visits to places that were very religious. That's not me. I went to places that didn't have that winning, like they were very academically good, but they were shitty at wrestling. And so I feel like, and the other thing is you just have to trust your gut. Whitewater was the school that my pop actually went to. So I thought that was the one school that I wouldn't go to. Like, I'm not going to go to the school that my pop went to. But when I toured the campus, you just sometimes get that feeling in your gut and you trust it. And I felt it and I pulled the trigger on it. And so I would say usually your body's telling you something for a reason. So consider it and probably act on it is a good idea.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
So you mentioned your father. I want to know what your parents.
So my pop was a very great man. He passed when I was a senior in high school, and he's gonna be big shoes to live up to as a dad because he was always there for athletics. Like I'm for the wrestling tournament world was like this. You wake up at like 5 a.m. on a Saturday, you drive to wherever the tournament was, maybe it's an hour, maybe it's 3 hours away, and you weigh in, then you go eat, and then you go, it starts about 9 or 10 a.m. and then you might wrestle until 3 or 5 p.m. And to think he worked his ass off during the week and without complaining, without anything, wakes up super early, sits in bleachers all day just to support me and my brother. It just means a lot. It means a lot to me. And I want to be that guy when I'm a dad. I want to be very involved. I want to be open up doors for them. I don't want to I don't want to be like, you're 16, here's a Mercedes. Like, I don't think that's a good strategy, but I want to be, oh, you want to try this opportunity? I'm going to make sure you can do that.
Feel that. Question, Tommy. I've been in the same shoes around the same area. I think I was a junior when my grandfather passed. He was like my father figure. What type of adversity did you go through your senior year?
I would say because I was so focused on trying to win a state title and I had a built-in brotherhood with the team and my coaches, I was very close to all of them. I didn't really deal with the grief of losing my dad until maybe 5 or 6 years after it happened. And then when I actually confronted it, it hit me so hard. And so it's weird how you don't look at something right away and then all of a sudden, like how fresh and painful it can be. And so I don't know if you guys have ever had an experience like that, but it was weird to me that it maybe didn't hit right away. But I think it was just because, then I went straight to college. I had so many new things to distract me. It was trying to be national champions. And so it was weird to me, the timing of when I really stopped to think about it.
Yeah, I think I feel the same way. When I was so my grandfather passed when I was a junior, and I was just so focused on rowing. I got to college for rowing.
Wow.
And I was like dreaming, and I had a dream that like I was talking to him, and it was like a real ass conversation. And then that's where it hit me. I'm like, oh my, and this is like 3 years after it happened. And I'm like, I didn't even practice that day. That's how like fucked I was. I was just like, oh my goodness. It felt so real. You know what I'm saying? So I totally get you, man. I totally get that, bro.
I think the dream thing is interesting. I don't dream, I feel like that often, but part of me does. Like I would pray a lot for, oh man, I wish I could have a nice dream with him or revisit it. And that dream world is a whole nother category, but it is interesting how things can visit you out of nowhere and really, really impact you and leave an impression on you.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. How would you say, your college grind, going for national championships, top ranked D3 program? How was that? How was that experience? I know we talked a little bit about the coach, but how was it with the boys? How was it just grinding it out?
I loved it, man. Really, wrestling, and then I launched a little business when I was a junior in college. But those two experiences what made college. The rest of college kind of was worthless to me, but wrestling was so much, and I left nothing. Like I emptied out my gas tank in my quest to be a champ, and my senior year I beat the national champ twice. I beat the 5th place and the sixth place guy pretty handedly, but just how I wrestled that year, I just didn't. I made it to the national tournament, and my junior and senior year, I made it to the blood round, which is if you win, you're an All-American. If you lose, you're not. And I lost that match both times. But what I really took out of that was I have no regrets because I worked so hard. Like my junior year, I would cut 13 or 14 pounds every single week, getting a workout in the morning, getting a workout at night, staying super disciplined on my diet, not partying. And so it was like, I went for it and it didn't fall in my favor, but like I can hang my hat on my effort, which is the only thing you really ever can do. Numbers,
Right. That's great.
you know,
That's what I
And what,
always is play the cards you're dealt and to the end, fight
Yeah.
to the end, and whatever it goes, whatever situation happens, that is what it is. What were you about to say, Corey?
100%.
I was just about to ask, what was that first business that you started?
So at a wrestling camp, there's a son of an Olympic gold medalist, and he was a semi-pro football player. And so we had this website in the wrestling world. It was called Flow Wrestling. It's still around, but it's evolved since then. And basically what it was when it started was just technique. So if you wanted to watch what the Russians are doing, if you wanted to watch what the Iranians, the best guys in the United States, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, so it's like a variety of like techniques given all to like one database. That's really nice. Interesting.
Yeah, and so we thought, you know what? There's nothing like this in the football world. And he had the football background, and I just was hungry to start a business. And so we ran with that. We worked with a decent amount of low-level pros, like guys that you probably have never heard of, but guys out of the NIU, the Huskies, the Northern Illinois College.
Yeah.
And so we worked with a lot of guys that were like, you know, third string quarterback or practice squad linebacker, or, you know, a couple of guys that were good but finished. And it was really fun going through that process. I pitched a business at a pitch competition, got some startup money, and I got to cold call NFL guys and try and get them to meet up with me to do this. But eventually the guy that I was partnered with got hired as a coach at a school, at a college. And I don't have a passion for football. So I was like, you know what? I think I'll take the lessons I learned and let's move on to the next one.
So it kind of fizzled out after that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about getting into the corporate world. You're not the first content creator we've talked to who's been in the who's been in corporate and then it was like, yo, I don't know if this is my you know what I'm saying? This is not my path. Yeah.
I don't feel like almost anyone feels like it is. I think if you guys are familiar with the story of the frog and the boiling water, where if you throw a frog,
Please share.
if you throw a frog into boiling water right now, it'll just hop out and get out. But if you put it in the pot of water and slowly heat it up degree by degree, it doesn't notice it, and then it
that is getting cooked. Yeah.
And that's kind of how it is in the corporate world. Like it just slowly creeps up on you. And if you don't jump, then all of a sudden, 20 years from now, you're in your 40s or 50s with some job that you really don't give a shit about, but that's all you know, and that's what you're stuck in. And just like, how did I grow up wanting to like be like Steve Irwin or be the next athlete or film videos, and now I'm fucking Bob at selling printers, which is nothing wrong with selling printers, but if you know you're meant for something more and you settle, it's just a very scary experience to think like, how am I going to get out of this, or is this all life's meant to be? And so I struggled with it, certainly. I also learned a lot of sales skills, which are helpful in different aspects now. But I think the coolest thing out of that journey is realizing, like, you might not know it, what's happening in this chapter of your life right now may very well feed into the next chapter, but you don't see it until after it happens. So where it hit for me was, I told you I came from like the most like middle class white bread place there, and then they put me into the most incarcerated zip code in the country, where when I would show up, like dudes would think I was in the FBI. They would think like, and I was just like, no, I'm just Tom from Paychecks. I just wanted, I did payroll for businesses, so daycares, home health cares, restaurants, things like that.
Yeah.
And that experience was tremendous for me now, because now I'm going to these places where like there's 55 blicks in a group, and I'm comfortable, and I would never have gotten there if I didn't have that experience.
Without a doubt. So when you did the most dangerous zip code, so you had some contacts, right? From there, did he go to school, or where did you have the contact that was the businessman? He was the ex-basketball player.
Yeah, we'd worked on some real estate together. He does contracting in the Milwaukee area. He does a lot of different things, but we had worked on a house together, and I was just, every time I'd meet with him, like he was the kind of guy that he sometimes takes a bodyguard with him. So like this big dude from Louisville I would talk to and just talk about random ideas. And I'm like, I think I'm going to do a documentary about this zip code. Do you know anyone from there that I can talk to? He's like, me. I'm like, oh, cool. Let's do it.
That's dope. So I think that's amazing. So you were able to still get a lot of learning and a lot of experience out of the corporate field. So it helped you a lot on this path where, I mean, I love your videos because I don't know what's coming up next week. You could be in Las Vegas, you could be with some witches, you could be you left and right, left and right. So can
And
you
there's
talk
also no bullshit.
Yes.
yeah,
I
no
was just
bullshit at
saying, there's
all.
no bullshit.
That's my
So
mission, man. That's my mission is I don't want you to be able to predict out what's coming out next and then nothing is fake, nothing is you like I don't want to be that YouTube guy that's everything's real, which is easy because then you never have to lie. And so it's an easy way to do it.
I feel that. So let's talk a little bit about that process. When I know you started with some music. I know oh man, I'm lost for it though, but I watched some of your music videos. What made that change? And when did you start doing that?
So when I was a junior in high school, we started smoking this stuff called spice or red magic, which was like synthetic weed. And I just did it because I thought, oh, well, it's legal. And I'm scared to get, if I ever got drug tested, I'm scared to smoke weed. When in reality, that spice stuff was crazy. I can't believe it was legal. But so we would smoke that, then drive around and put on a beat and just freestyle. And we do that sometimes for hours. And then I would do that all through college. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna record some stuff. But I think I came to the realization that although I love rapping, I'm not gonna be the guy that sells out an arena. I'm just not. And then I started doing prank videos, and that was a lot of fun. That was a 4-year period or so, and had a lot of fun doing it. But for whatever it was, the YouTube algorithm just never really smiled on me. With the exception of like one series, the Hella Sus Rapping in the Hood, where I'd pretend to be a rapper and then say some homo bars.
Yeah.
That took off. And
And then
then
y'all did that in O Block, which is crazy. Like,
oh, I was definitely scared, man. I almost pussied out of that because as soon as we got in there, it was such a chaotic scene and like there's fights going on and just different stuff. I'm just like, I don't know if this is a good idea. So I also have now made the rule that I'm not going to do any more videos with minors just because they're so reckless. Like the St. Louis video, they're strapped up. They have no idea what they're doing. They have so much like testosterone and just bravado, and they're just trying so hard to flex that now I'm just doing stuff with the kind of the OGs of the area. That's the new idea.
I feel
So
that.
is there any like video that you've done or location that you're just like, I can't be doing that again?
Yeah, I went to the border of Texas and Mexico, and I was interviewing some kids that were, I guess you could call them coyotes, but really they transported illegals from Eagle Pass to San Antonio. And I was meeting them in some like the back of some abando, and they were all strapped up and just way too like casual about what they were doing and just I think it was a front, but like zero empathy, zero. And I just ended that interview early. I'm like, all right, guys, thank you. And I couldn't take it anymore. Like these guys were too sloppy. Like they would stand up and one of their guns would fall out of their pocket. I was just like,
Oh yeah,
these
no.
guys are stupid. And then you'd hear like someone just walking in the hallway up to where we were. And it's like, are we about to get set up? Like, can you at least tell us, Roberto's on his way. So I know fucking when footsteps are coming that something's going on. So just, I guess I want to I'll go to any place, but I want to make sure that the person that's bringing me in there cares at least a little bit about me and my crew. And if we make it out, like if they're so casual that they can't even give us the like courtesy of letting us know what's going on, then it's like, probably not a good match.
Yeah, I feel that. I think one of the greatest things that you do, and it probably is due to like sales and just your experience and just you personalize like some sketchy individuals. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think for the most part, people would be like, oh, I don't know about that. I don't know about going over here. I don't know about going to a cookhouse. You know what I'm saying? But and like Vice would do that back in the day, but the way you do it is just like more approachable and less, I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying with that?
Yeah, I think, and luckily no one's really come at me for this because I was wondering if some people would like humanizing a guy that deals fentanyl or just treating him like a normal guy. Or like I have one coming out soon that's on the block with pimps and prostitutes. And like, I'm not dissing the pimps. I'm not like, you guys are a bunch of bastards or bad guys or whatever. And And actually you see, like, I think most people are decent people. And I think a lot of this is driven by economic circumstance, but that's not the whole thing. I mean, you get to choose, hey, I'm going to be a pimp or not. It's not like there's other options besides that. So I'm not just excusing it, but a lot of these people are pretty decent people that I feel like are just surviving in the way that they figure out. And I think another thing I'm learning about, like, even a lot of these gangster dudes is like the amount of traumatic events they've witnessed from a young age. If I saw 5 people be murdered between the time I was 8 and 15, I saw someone like beat my mom, or like there's so many things that I think we're not realizing what these kids are seeing, and you realize, oh, I can kind of see why he's desensitized to things. I can kind of see why he doesn't care if he steals your car or he shoots his op. Why would he if he grew up in a way
Yeah,
where
if you're
he,
surrounded by that. Mhm.
yes. And I think I would love to see ideas on how to tackle that, because like one of the questions I think about all the time is like, if I was president or mayor, how would I help the north side of Milwaukee? What could I do? But I think a lot of it, there's government things you can do, but also I think any real movement has to come from the individual and spread up. Daddy government's not going to solve our problems. They just create more. So
Yeah.
I'm never going to sit back and let the government think that what they do is probably going to fix much,
Yeah, and
Mhm.
I think I was looking straight at, I mean, the dangerous zip code in America. That video kind of narrows it down exactly. Like, you see the guys, the rappers and the ops and all that, like, and they had guns, but I could still see like this is a kid that's like just in a bad situation. And I understand what's going on, but he's choosing this, and he knows I think they're pretty clear on the life that they've chosen.
Yeah.
And then you see, this entrepreneur, D1 basketball player trying to make moves and help better his community. It's great to see that. There's also the other one where I'm getting all these videos into one,
Yeah.
but like you talk to this older gentleman at the end of the
fighter,
video.
the
Yeah.
fighter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that St. Louis one I think is a good example. And by the way, I got an update recently. So that St. Louis video, you guys remember that one white boy in the crew?
Yeah.
He's in jail for first-degree murder right now. And I think a couple other members of that crew have done stuff since that video. And but yeah, talking to that, I like to provide that contrast because like it didn't sit right with me leaving St. Louis with just interviewing that crew. So I literally left Arkansas at like 5 a.m. to stop in St. Louis before I went back to Milwaukee to link up with that fighter, because I thought his story was worth telling. And it does go to show we have a lot of personal freedom to choose our route. That fighter was a good dad, a good worker, I'm sure a good coach at his gym, he's just a man that you'd want in your community, a man that you'd want in your circle. And I think success is universal, meaning like I don't think it matters if you're a man, woman, black, white, gay, straight. I don't care any of those factors. If you there's habits of success that if you follow this, chances are going to be really good. And if you follow these other rules, you're gonna have a fucked up life. And so that guy has chosen to be accountable, and that guy is choosing to make the right moves. And like I know a former bank robber that's a millionaire. I know a former murderer that's a 6-figure business owner. I know drug dealers that are now 6-figure guys in real estate. So to me, it's just like, man, there's so many paths out there, but it's just exposing kids to a path that they probably don't get to see as much.
Yeah, showing opportunity, redemption is possible for any man, but they got to see the opportunity, and they got to see some type of, some route to get
Yes.
there. So I definitely understand that. Let's talk about the Kia Boys. That's probably one of the biggest like blow ups, like probably the whole summer. I think everybody was sharing this left and right. This was just a crime. This is a trend that's probably been a thing for years, right?
Yes.
And what made it your attention, and what came to mind when you're like, yo, I'm about to do this?
I knew of the Kia Boys for probably a year or so before I ever filmed that video. And it always intrigued me because like these guys, when you see them driving around, they're so reckless. they're swerving into the wrong lane and they just like, they love doing this with the steering wheel. It's like,
Mhm.
like, that's one of their fun things that they do. And like you hear, they'll go through a red light at 80 miles an hour. They'll just T-bone people. Like they've crashed through the front of people's houses. I was just like, man, like this is wild. And it's happening in my own backyard. I just didn't know any of these guys. So as soon as I got a connection into one, it was just like, boom, I met him the next week. And that video changed my life.
So let's talk about that. In the video, you show they give you kind of a demonstration. And see, I would have never known anything like that. How did you feel? Like just him demonstrating in your car, like how to jack your car with a USB. Yeah, I don't have one on me right now, but yeah, a USB.
It was an interesting moment because on one end, like that conversation we had the funniest moment of the video. Like when he said, like I said, how do you feel about you picture me at my house crying because you stole my car? Like, and he's like, well, shit. Or I'm like, what? He's like, you should have insurance. I'm like, what if I don't have insurance? He's like, well, you should. It's illegal not to. And so like to me, it's a sad and like funny moment at the same time because on one end, like I see so much potential in that kid. He's smart, he's reckless, which to me, if you drive recklessness in a good direction, like you could be an entrepreneur, you could be a cage fighter, you could be a stand-up comedian. And so like I see a lot of gifts in this kid, but then also like if you follow his trajectory, if he doesn't change, like it's a very predictable end for that kid. So and then I did get a little bit of flack for that part. And in that moment, I mean, that was the first documentary I really ever made. So I wasn't like, I'm still at the bottom of the staircase and learning. I'm going higher and higher and learning how to be better at this field. But I didn't think like, oh man, how many more Kias will be stolen because kids watch this. And I'm sure there's been some, like, I'm not going to deny that.
Yeah, so I was gonna tell you in Cleveland, they actually showed that clip on the news. And
All
then
over.
yeah, so weeks later, it's just a spike. Now they got it on bulletin boards like, look, don't keep your charger in your car. And I'm like, is this a direct correlation from Tommy G? Like, I don't know if it is, but I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was thinking about that because I mean, I think you got to step up and take responsibility when you need to. So it's like, did I unintentionally help millions of dollars worth of Kias get stolen? Like it is possible. And so I think the thing would be just to be careful the next time. But it's like, I don't know, if I'm interviewing a drug dealer and he's showing how to make crack, do I edit that out or do I keep that in there? Like, I don't know, like you guys tell me, like as a journalist, what do you think makes sense? Do you show everything raw or is there certain stuff it's like, well, you just showed someone how to make crack and that's not a good, like, what do you guys think?
And I know in terms of like the Kia stealing, that was already available on YouTube, right?
Yeah, they'd already done it 10,000
So
times
I
a
feel
year
like,
before.
if you were to make that video either way, like if someone wanted to learn,
Yeah.
they see
They
that,
could
they
find
go
it.
look it up. You're right.
And I mean, that's the same idea. I mean, there's the Anarchist Cookbook, right? So like there's avenues to do these things, right? So I think it was a great thing to show, them talking about it because once again, you just kind of mentioned it. That intellect, if it didn't go to the stealing Kias, it could go to making a business. It could go to, and maybe later on in life, he's gonna have some consequences he might have to face with later on. If he looks back on that video and see that you were just trying to be a genuine dude, just trying to share his story, you was trying to, in a lot of ways, you're trying to look out for them. He could
Yeah.
say, dude, I could change, I could change this up. I could be somebody else. So I
I
think as a journalist, that was cool on keeping it in. I think it was like crazy that for all the clips that you had in your documentary, right? The news decided to pick the tutorial.
yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
like,
it's amazing how many news stations picked that up too. I went from never being contacted by a newspaper in my entire life to like I think NBC National, CNBC National, all and then all these local like Dallas, Fort Worth, Columbus, like all over the country, people were picking it up and asking, can I use that particular clip? Sure. And I guess if anything positive is from that clip, it shows how quickly they do it and how easy it is to do. And I also wonder like the CEO of Kia, do you feel like that has to be on his radar? Like, I wonder what
Oh
sales,
yeah, no,
how
no
bad
doubt.
did that video like lower their stock by a percentage? Who knows? Like, I'd be curious to know what the impact has been on them.
And hopefully it's an impact that for change so that they can change up how they work all their cars. Cause
Mhm.
it is rampant though, just in general. But I feel like it did originate in like around your area for the most part. I'm not sure.
Milwaukee will claim that title, but I know that there recently was an internet beef between St. Louis and Milwaukee fighting over who invented stealing it first. And I got like some different magazines or like St. Louis magazine or like there's Whitewater, what's the name? The Hype House, the Hype House channel was like, you guys need to comment on this. I'm like, I'm not gonna join in the fight of who is stealing the car first, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah, without a doubt.
But one thing I really liked about that video is like you're getting every point of view, and you're getting deep into each side. And that's why I'm also just still going on like, keeping everything, because you're just you're keeping everyone informed, keeping everyone aware, because like, you could say all the negative things coming out of it, but also you're showing people like this is how easy it is. This is what, you're risking in a way, having a Kia.
Yeah, one thing that I was just thinking about today was like I've had people turn down doing a video with me because they've seen other videos on my channel. And I hope it doesn't become where I can't get like, I'm not gonna say the quote unquote good guy, but like I want everyone to feel comfortable speaking with me. And I think it's kind of funny, like because I've approached like the criminal side in such a humanizing way, I've scared away some other people from even wanting to talk to me, which I think, like I guess it kind of makes sense. Like I was gonna film a ketamine experience with a doctor in Milwaukee, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm all about it." And then he looked up my channel. I was like, "Sorry, your channel is too wild for me. We can't be associated." I was like, "Oh,
Hmm.
So I don't want to lose that many opportunities, but also what's calling to me is like if I can jump into a crazy situation, I'm gonna do it."
Also, you have a variety, like I say again. So like experiments. When you were like, I'm about to go homeless for amount of hours or amount of time, that's a whole that's a whole thing. Obviously, that's been done on YouTube before, but seeing Tommy G do it right after seeing them, interview everybody else, then people grow like rapport with you. They're like, okay, I'm excited to see what's about to happen next. You know what I'm saying? I'm excited to see whatever the hell you about to do. The wrestling, like the $100 to if you beat me, like, is that ever gonna come back? Like that type
Yeah,
of stuff?
I have it on my whiteboard right now, the $1,000 takedown. I'm up in the money now. I think I'm gonna do a $1,000 takedown challenge in Miami.
Okay.
So, but yes, that's one thing that I'm really happy about with my channel is the variety that's coming out. Like in the vault right now, we have pimps and prostitutes. We have getting guns pointed at us by Mexican police when they no-knock raid a house that we're in. I have an interview with a bunch of Hasidic Jews in New York, which I don't know if you've seen those guys with the fur hats and like they have the special cool hair.
Yeah.
I just really want to poke my way into communities that are hard to access. So like I'm really trying to access Amish people. That's really tough. I'm really trying to get into the neo-Nazi or KKK. That's really tough. I'm trying to get into biker gangs, but like one of their first rule, like a motorcycle gang, is like no filming of our club. So
Oh.
the more I can get access into places that are really hard to get access to me, like that's really, really exciting and something I want to keep on doing.
So do you get access like mainly through Instagram or like is that like the main avenue?
Most, I would say 80% or more of the ideas I get are from people DMing me on Instagram and be like, "Hey, yo, I'm in New York. I do dirt bike stuff and I can take you to this abandoned building." Or, "Hey, I'm on the Texas-Mexico border. We can interview a rapper named Hostage. We can talk to illegal immigrants." So, or I'll call them and I'll brainstorm. Like if they'll usually come to me with like one idea, and then once I have that one idea locked in, every time I travel, I like to get 3 to 6 videos per location. So it's like, okay, what else is in Atlanta that I can branch out to? And then I'll start building the list. But a lot of these, because they're dangerous, I don't do it without a contact, and the contact makes it really smooth. Like there's one in Pennsylvania. I'm actually releasing in about 4 hours, walking the most dangerous hood in Philly. And
Ooh,
this
Philly
guy,
tough.
Yeah, Philly is tough. And I found out like just before this weekend that the block I was on just got raided. Like police just showed up, started taking guns. Because I think someone put on Snapchat himself with a gun, and that was enough to get a warrant. And so like these places are the real deal. And I only get access because I have people that are friendly and willing to take me in.
Now, my question to you, and this is a serious question. So you got the access from your connect. What about like the connects, other people? Like, how do you feel about that? Are they warned? Are they like, yo, I'm bringing in a camera? Or is it just like any given Wednesday you showing up and you know what I'm saying?
I for sure plan it out usually like 3 to 4 months in advance. Like I'll book the tickets and and then I'll talk to them here and there. Like I like to screen people too because I've had it where I showed up to a trap house and the guy was completely fronting and it was a total waste of time. And I spent like 4 hours in the car that day for nothing. And so it's like, oh, you have fentanyl? Show me,
Yeah.
or oh, you're on the block. Like, let me look at your Instagram and see what you do. So I FaceTime people, I call them multiple times, and then like the month leading up, the week leading up, I'm in contact, and then so they know, and a lot of times they know too that it's an opportunity. Like for a lot of these rappers, they're like, okay, like I'm gonna show out with my boys because who knows, this might get 1 million views, and that could be really good.
Yeah, when we started What's Out, we started out like just interviewing artists, and we had an artist here named Kobe Bin Laden, and we scheduled a interview with him, and the day before the day before we were about to meet, he got shot. He's alive still, but he got shot. So we're like, okay, and I was gonna be like, we scheduled that to be our first interview because we were a fan of his music, and we're like, we want to interview this guy. So I definitely get that. I haven't been able to do an interview like straight up like that. So what advice would you give to myself and to other creators? And I guess scouting is number one, like making sure, well, what would you say?
I would say like I can definitely tell the difference between people that say that actually enjoy watching my stuff and want me to be there and they actually view me as a guy that they can have a good conversation with. And I can just feel the difference between people that are just like, they don't give a shit about me. They've never seen a video besides one and they just see it as an opportunity. Cause like dude, so many rappers since the Certified Trapper video came out in Milwaukee, like so many Milwaukee rappers and then rappers around the country, like, yo, come to my block or some like aggressively tell me like, yo, you finna interview me next, dude. And like, I'm like, no, thank you, and you don't want to piss some of these guys off, but like the trapper in Chicago was like, dude, I love your channel. I love what you do. I'd love to have you at the trap house. And it's like, oh, like that feels like a warm welcome rather than just like, show up, you little bitch, and let's see what happens. It's like, oh God, like, so make sure they're good, genuine people. Cause I think they could be a trapper, they could even be a shooter, they could be a gangster, whatever, and you can tell if they have a good heart on them. And then I think talking to them multiple times is good. And then also like when it feels sketchy, listening to your gut. Like when it's time to leave, you leave. When it's time to like maybe there's a time where you got to pass on the opportunity. Like you pull up to the block and you can just feel like something doesn't feel right here. But I would say in both of our shoes, because we just tell people a story and we talk to them, most people want to share their story. So I think most people want to give us a good impression. Most people want to take care of us. Most people want to show us a good time.
Did you ever figure out that whole gang sign thing in St. Louis was that confirmed that they were actually throwing up gang signs and dissing their ops?
So I
Yeah.
still haven't done a lot of research, but I know that crunching twos is offensive to some group.
Okay.
And I think I probably should look this up, but that was kind of crazy to think that these kids, like I know to them it was a total joke, and I don't think anyone took me seriously in it.
Right.
But doing something that gets people killed is like, why did you guys ask me to do that? Like that wasn't really cool.
Yeah, one of my teammates, small little white kid, threw up a gangster disciple sign. Just I think it was on like a regular kids like Instagram, and then they shared it on their like own like I don't, like group pages and like, look at this white kid, LMAO. Like they were clowning, but they were also like, he disrespecting, you know what I'm saying? So that's what I was wondering. I'm like, yeah, I was like, dude, he really just threw up that,
And then
People think that's a joke.
do you guys know the meaning behind crunching twos?
So is two's like a squad or no, I have no idea.
I don't know, cause like yeah. So okay, so I still need to figure it out, but I made it a point in the video to pan away and explain like, look, I had no idea what I was doing. I even said sorry to like the leader of the other squad, like sorry, Mr. 30 Deep Grimy, like I didn't mean anything, you know. And in fact, that guy that I guess I dissed his crew. I was supposed to meet up with him for that video anyways, but he bailed last minute. So I had no idea that I was talking to people that don't like him, you know.
Yeah. What would you say was your most fun experience? You have like a most fun experience? Or are they all like just up there?
Each trip, there's at least a couple that are just like, we just have like an hour or so after in the car of kind of euphoria of like, how did we pull this off? Like getting held at gunpoint by Mexican police definitely wasn't the funnest, but like the feeling afterwards was like we were just so giddy with laughter and so like happy to be back in American soil after that happened. Just like anytime we pull something off that's like the tunnel of Las Vegas, the driving through like 30 red lights with the dirt bike squad in New York, being in the most dangerous. I mean, a lot of them, dude, are like, oh, it's almost like the most recent one is your favorite one, you know?
I feel that. Yeah.
And it just feels good to be doing stuff that I want to try and pull off videos that only a handful of people can pull off. You know, like if it was, I don't want it to be like anyone could show up with a camera and do this. Like I want it to be.
You're definitely succeeding.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you. But let's see, most fun. They're all, dude, I love my job. I'm finally in a job that I enjoy and I'm passionate about, and I see where it's going. And I feel I'm just very lucky and thankful to be where I'm at. So I'm a happy man.
Great to hear. Great to hear. My dad is he just got a Harley. So he just joined this Harley, Harley group. And when we were watching the bike, the New Yorkers and the bike, he goes, we actually do that same thing where they scout, off to the different sides and make sure. But he's like, we don't go on the opposite road or on the opposite side of the road. But even you driving on it, where you just like, what in the world? And then my dad also was gonna ask. He wanted me to ask you, did you do the James Bond license plate type thing? Like,
Oh, that would have been good. No, I may or may not have used duct tape on my license plate.
Okay. But yeah, that was a dope video. And my dad was like, I'm learning stuff from just watching this too. So very dope. What would you say the grinding mindset from wrestling through, from 10 years old onward, how does that relate to being a full-time content creator?
Well, I think like the type of stuff I make is very time intensive. Like I know YouTubers that to me are very low effort, low work ethic folks. But I think most of the guys that are at the top of the food chain put a lot of time into it. And so like my life is most of the time I'm here in Milwaukee and I do real estate here and I do YouTube. And so it's like, oh, I got to walk through at 10 for property. Okay, now I got to go back, edit for 2 hours. Okay, now I have to work on this merch thing. It's just I get to pick up things and like I don't have to do something for 10 hours straight, but I get to always have something new in my hands to do. And like on some of my trips too, like the first night we were in Texas, we woke up in Milwaukee at 5 a.m., got to Texas by 4 p.m., waited on these gangster rappers, filmed with them until 1 a.m., then drove to the border town until 3 a.m., woke up, went to Mexico, got guns pointed at us, did all this, finished the night by meeting with coyotes, and then went to sleep about 10, 11. Like sometimes we do 14-hour days, 20-hour days, 10-hour days. Like we hustle on these trips. And so, and I'm just so lucky to have the squad I do. I got these guys that are just tenacious and like they love it too. They love like getting into the mix. And like when we walk out untouched. It's just like, holy shit, dude.
You
Like
did that
that was
shit.
crazy, you know?
Yeah, without a doubt. So you got your squad, you working heavy. Question about real estate. What got you into real estate? What advice would you give to young people who are thinking about real estate? I think that's a huge market that a lot of young people really want to get into.
Yeah. So I was doing the day job and I met with a home healthcare owner, and she's like, "Hey, my boyfriend Bendel just got into real estate. He has a listing you might want to see." So I walked this 4-unit building, and I was like, "Let's do it." Like I'd lived with my aunt and uncle for a year, and I just lived like a monk. Like I didn't party, I didn't do anything. So I just saved up some money, and I pulled the trigger on it. And I definitely fell on my face a few times. Like I did some stupid stuff. Like I didn't know what I didn't know. So, but now I'm in. I got a partner that we and him have a portfolio together, maybe 30 doors right now, and we're looking to expand that to 50 or 60. And then I do some wholesaling of real estate, and I think it's one of the best outlets you can get into, because I think most people want to be financially independent, and owning a piece of real estate that cash flows each month and gains equity as you go on. I mean, it's a no-brainer. You just have all these little poker chips on the board, and it might take you 2 or 3 years to save up for your first property, but then in another year you can get another, and then another year you get another. And all of a sudden, if you want, every 6 months, every 3 months, you're buying another property. And I would say, so one is how I bought my first property is I took my landlord at the time out for a coffee, and I asked him, "Hey, how does this deal look to you? How should I go about it?" And the other thing is, I would recommend everyone to use their FHA loan. So it's a first-time homeowners loan, and you only have to put 3.5% down. So if the house is 100K, you need to save up like 3.5 grand to buy it, which that's in reach. And that's how I bought my first property. And I would just say you gotta make the jump. Like it seems very scary, but if you talk to a couple people that have real estate and they think you're making a good decision, probably is. And then always live below your means, because I think people that are very materialistic have the tendency to look rich but be very poor. So even if you're making 30K a month, but you're spending 35K a month, like you're broke because you're not making good choices. So I would say always have cushion, because things are going to happen. You're going to get a call. I could get a call in 2 minutes and say, "Hey, Tom, a furnace just went out and I got to have 5 grand to go fix it." So always have a cushion. I like to have a 6-month fund of like, if I just got paralyzed and I couldn't work for 6 months, then I have enough to pay my bills. And then everything beyond that is invested, because that's going to make me have fuck you money. And who knows, I think YouTube can last a long time, but maybe people don't find what I do interesting in a year, and I'm going to need another way to make money. So I'm going to grow that portfolio so I never have to go back to some office and want to shoot myself.
I feel that, bro. I feel that. You still wrestling?
I coach takedown Tuesdays, actually tonight at the jiu-jitsu gym. I ran a little kid program. It was like 5-year-olds to 12-year-olds, and it was so much fun. But right now I don't have the time to really coach. So, but I do train. I train jujitsu. I try and go 5 to 6 nights a week, and I just try and stay in shape, man.
So
Feel
what's
that.
it like having this YouTube channel, and then you're dealing with a lot of different people in your other interests in work through coaching and real estate? You have like either your wrestlers coming up to you being like, "Oh, I saw you in this video, this and that," and then like coworkers seeing them. What are their opinions? What are their perspectives? What do you get from that?
Yeah, I mean, it's really in the last 5 months is when this has been happening, but it's been a lot of fun. And a lot of people at jujitsu gym know what I do, and they're very encouraging and supportive. And like I'll be walking a property where like the agent would be taking me through, or the manager will be taking me through, and the attendant's like, "Oh, you Tommy Jean." It's like, "Yep, yep." And so it's like, and then it starts off a good conversation, and it's fun. Like it's fun to be in all these different pockets. And I think because I treat people well, that like no one ever like sees me and then starts shitting on me like, "You're a douchebag, you're an asshole," and whatever. So largely it's been a big help and a big door opener for the things I do. Although I think it's nice that nothing I do is corporate or like official, because I think that would hurt me. Um, like I got fired from my job in February, and then they found out about my YouTube channel, and they acted like I was the biggest piece of shit. That was my impression from them.
I
And
got two
being a-
questions. Oh,
Oh yeah, well I'll just go real quick, but like being
Yeah.
around all these people, all these different people from such different walks of life, like how does that change your viewpoint on like your community uh in terms of like just a local sense or even as far as like a nationwide sense?
and I was gonna piggyback off that. What are you learning about people? That was exactly the same question. Yeah. What are you learning about people?
I would say that almost everyone has a story to tell, and I think everyone thinks they're a good person, and they're like, given what they view their situation, their option, that they think that they're making the right moves. Um, but I love, like, I felt like I was a guy that like I never could be put in a box. Like I wasn't the athlete with the jocks, but I wasn't the nerd either, and I wasn't, so I was always kind of like intermingling and across groups, and so it feels good to have access to so many different interesting and new people. And I would say what's taught me the most about people has been really eye-opening has been real estate, because I've walked dozens and dozens of houses in Milwaukee, and it's like, holy shit, man, like some people just operate by different standards. Are you guys readers at all? Do you guys like reading books?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's a book called Evicted that was written about Milwaukee, and it's basically like the landlord tenant scene. And it's like 1 out of 9 single moms are evicted every year, and what it does to neighborhoods and why neighborhoods are so chaotic. Because before it was like you knew who's on your block, and now it's like it just is a deck that keeps on reshuffling. But I guess what blows my mind is how different people live. Like you can walk into one house where like an old lady keeps it immaculately, and it's so clean and fresh, and then you walk into the next house and people like use their carpet as a cigarette tray. There's like used baby diapers on the ground. There's bugs and shit, and it's like they would rather call the landlord and be like, hey, I've got bugs and I got mice, than just clean their fucking kitchen. And um just like the condition that like, I guess this is a recent comparison I made, is I was asking this Mexican rapper who he grew up in Houston, so he's had a taste of America for a long time, but he did stuff that got him deported 2 or 3 times. Like he kept coming back, getting deported, and kept coming back and doing more crime. And he's just like, dude, even the hoods in America are paradise compared to a lot of other places. And he's like, the fact that they get their Section 8, they get their food stamps, they get their this and that. Like in Mexico, you just go hungry. And it gave me perspective on, wow, like I think America could be way better, but also we have it pretty good here. Like, yes, there's so many things that we could be mad about and get upset about. I agree. But it's like when you compare it to some other places, it's like, man, we do have, like, you can go up to Biden or Trump and say, fuck you to his face, and nothing will happen to you. You can go up to a sheriff or a police officer and say, fuck you, pig, and nothing happens to you. Other places, you just disappear. And so,
Right.
like, our freedom of speech is a very cool thing that we have here.
I actually had a shower thought probably like last week.
It's nice to have
The
thoughts.
Yeah, the fact that I got running water and electricity, I'm like more than most of the other world. I got more than most of the other world. So
Yeah.
when I'm thinking of, that's more of a perspective and a paradigm like shift. It's like if you think like your life is crappy or whatever, like most people don't got running water. A lot of people don't got electricity. You know what I'm saying? So be grateful for what the things that you have. And here in America, we got it great. My last
Yeah.
question to you is, where do you think the society is heading as you get to see people in this society? Where do you see this heading?
I am definitely an optimist by nature, but I am not particularly optimistic about America right now. I think politically on both sides we're very messed up and have kind of the wrong mindset. And I just am I optimistic? I think the thing about being a pessimist or being negative about something is it spreads like a cancer. Like if you have a pure bottle of water, if you even put one drop of shit or blood or you sneeze in it, the whole thing is tainted. Like
Right.
negative things spread so much faster than positive things do. And I feel like the morale of the country is in a low place and it's hard to get out of that rut. Like historically, what's gotten out of that rut are
Wars.
shared conflict, wars. Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't want another one of those. And I don't even know if that would help at this point because I think our mindset would be it would be like more like Vietnam than 9/11. We'd be like, well, why the hell are we doing this again?
Yeah.
So
Doom and gloom.
I think this. I think we very much have the potential to be way better than we've ever been, but it's all going to be if we can encourage each other, if we can show each other the right paths. Because I literally believe that anyone that wants to be can be a millionaire. Anyone that wants to be can be successful. I feel like it's a skill set and a mentality, and they just have you just need enough time and to act on those things. But I think one thing that does frighten me is like going crazy woke frightens me. Like anything that hinders on freedom of speech, I think is a really bad idea. As far like I think the fact that Republicans and Democrats and whoever's in that like people like me that are in between and don't feel like they're part of either camp, the fact that we can't reasonably just get together and be like, here's the problem, what are the best solutions? Instead, it's always like me versus you, and it's like, why are we talking like this? Why don't we like, hey, the problem is immigration. Let's draw on a board like 7 ideas that how can we make this how can we make the immigration system better? How can we make the countries that are affected, like the reason that the people are leaving for a reason? So how can we make economic stability better in those countries so they don't want to leave? How can we open up opportunities here? Like it's just like a marriage. Like it's never me versus my wife. It's we're on the same
Mhm.
side of the table. Here's the issue. How can we make this better? And I feel like we've lost that ability. And if we don't figure it out, we're just gonna keep descending into chaos and madness and shit.
Mhm.
I get you on that. So more about innovation, looking for solutions to problems rather than just barking about the problems. Congratulations, by the way, on being recently married. Congratulations, dog.
Thank you. Beautiful
And
thing.
my last question to you, and Corey probably have a question too. What is your advice for the youth in general?
My advice is find the things that you are passionate about, find a way to monetize a couple of them, because then you're never going to feel like you're working. You're just going to be able to do what you love. I would say always invest into your skill set and your crafts and take the time to figure yourself out. Like go for walks in the woods and take a trip somewhere by yourself. Um, and read and be curious about the world because I think each person has a unique little light that shines in them, but you have to take the risk to discover it and you have to take the time to discover it. And that if they want a better future, that they have responsibility in that because like, it always like it's a ripple effect. Like if I make a better life for me, then I make a better life for my family. And then that ripples into my neighborhood, my community, my city, my state, my country. It always goes outward like that. And so invest in yourself and take the time to get to know yourself. That's what I would say.
It's great advice, man. And yeah, I'll close out with and you don't have to go into detail because I know this is probably something you don't want everybody knowing, but do you have any big like overarching goals in the YouTube, outside of YouTube, that you are just really just itching to like put out there?
Yeah, I would say I want to do an international trip in 2023. I guess I just did Mexico, but like England or Guatemala, somewhere really out there. Um, I want to buy 3 houses for my own portfolio in 2023 and really like by the time I have kids, I want to be rock solid. I want to be no one can touch me financially and I never have to get a job. And I want to just keep challenging myself to make better and better documentaries and be able to look at myself in the mirror and be like, yo, like this editing wasn't that good or this shot wasn't that good. And just really put together well done pieces. So, and be consistent. Once a week, every week, I'm coming at you with something crazy or interesting or unique. and I'm gonna just keep building that platform. And I would say the last one is probably launch a podcast in 2023. That'll probably be on the list too.
Great.
Great to hear. Hey, you're already on the way for your goals of 2023. Shout out to Tommy G. Everyone, go to his website, TommyGMcGee.com. You could get the Gorilla Gang products. Big Dogs Gotta Eat. He showed you the ski mask earlier. He's got caps. He's got a whole bunch of different gear. Check out Tommy G's YouTube channel. Thank you, Tommy G, for your time. We really appreciate it, bro.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. Keep making moves and spreading the love, and I'll see you guys in another episode. Okay.
Word.
Great.
Peace
Peace.
out.